Mr. Roy. Welcome. How was lunch?
Not the best.
No, not the best. That's exactly why I don't eat lunches here anymore. I tell you what, they get horrible. So, all right. Well, everybody settled down? Okay. All right. So, who can tell me what we learned last week?
Something about coefficients.
We learned we had variables, right? And what can you do with those variables? What are some things you can do with variables?
You can multiply them.
You can multiply things. Where would you multiply? Where would you put the multiplication?
Right after the x.
No, you're going to actually put it right in front of the x. And what else can you do? Adders. Yeah. How about this? We'll add something on there. We'll add 5. Okay. By the way, do you guys remember what this is called?
Oh, that's the coefficient.
This is the coefficient? Absolutely. Good job, Addie. All right, so we have a coefficient. For anybody who doesn't quite remember what a coefficient is, I actually have the definition right here for you guys. It's a numerical or constant quantity placed before and multiplying the variable in an algebraic expression. Now, that sounds really complicated, but I'm going to break it down for you guys. We have place before and multiplying. So it's basically saying 2 times x right here. Okay, that's 2 times x, and multiplying the variable. So that was that x right there. Okay, and this is your algebraic expression. So, beautiful job. All right. Well, today what we're going to do is we're actually going to isolate x. That's the goal of today. Okay. What does isolation mean?
By itself.
By itself? Absolutely. X is a lonely man. He's going out and he's trying to find who he is. He's trying to find his identity, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite it over here, but we're going to form it into an equation. You have to be able to solve for something. So that means in an equation, I'm just going to throw in 7. We're going to throw a 7, okay? So, to do this, to isolate x, what you have to do is you have to use inverse operations. Now, what does inverse mean?
It's the opposite of something.
Absolutely. So, we have multiplication right here, right? So the opposite is?
Dividing.
All right. And then we have addition?
Subtraction.
Beautiful. All right. So, the first thing that you're going to have to do is you have to get rid of anything that's not directly attached to x, okay? So we have the plus 5 that we're going to get rid of first. So, since we have the plus 5, you guys said minus 5. All right. Now, the key about this, though, is that you have to do it to both sides. Otherwise, the equation isn't the same on each side, and it has to be. That's what that equal means. So we're going to put a minus 5 here as well, okay? So, on this side, you have that 2x still. You had 5 apples, you got rid of 5 apples, no more apples. Apples are gone. And we have 2 on this side as well, 7 minus 2. So, what would be the next step, Brent?
You have to get rid of the coefficient.
Right, which means I'm going to...
Divide?
Right, absolutely. So we're going to get rid of the 2 by dividing. And I'm going to have 1, because you have 2 divided by 2, you have 1x equals 1 on this side. Now, what's 1 times anything? Anybody?
Itself.
Itself, right? So 1 times x would be the same thing as saying it's just x. So you can have x equals 1, boom, he discovered his identity. Now, if you guys want to check how this is correct, do you guys have any ideas on how you might do that?
That's when you put the 1 where the x is in the problem.
Right, yeah, you would substitute it back in up in this original equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this right here. And we're going to substitute 1 in for x, okay? So we have 2 times 1 plus 5 equals 7. So, what do you get on this side? We're going to simplify it. We're going to make it simple on this side, okay? So, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 5 equals 7. 7 equals 7. Now, if you have the same number on both sides, then you guys got it right. If, let's say, if you hadn't done the same thing on each side. You would have had 2x equals 7, x equals 7 halves. Doesn't quite look the same as what we had, right? No? And so you would have gotten a completely different answer. You would have had something else on here like 2 equals 7. This would have been incorrect, okay? So that's how you guys can check yourself on what we went over. Now, does this make sense to everybody? Does anybody have any questions?
I don't get the dividing part.
Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to help Brent out really quick. I'm going to give you guys a problem to work on while I'm over there with him, okay? So we'll kind of get you used to some other operations here. So 1/5 x minus 2 equals 4, okay? All right, so I'm going to leave that for you guys. Here, I've got you, Brent. Okay, so I understand you said you had problems with the dividing part.
Yeah.
It just doesn't quite look right when you're going through it.
No, I don't understand that.
Okay, so at that point we had 2x equals 2, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I want you to basically think of these as two separate parts, right? So you
Okay.
have 2 times that x, right?
Yeah.
Equals 2. All right, so what you can do is forget the x. Don't worry about the x. We were dividing 2 on each side, right?
Right.
Okay, so divide that 2, divide by 2, right? What's 2 divided by 2? 1. And we had times the x still. We didn't do anything to that, and you said it was already 1. And we said 1 times itself is
Itself.
right. So we can just forget about that. Same thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. If you get to that point where this looks a little confusing, you don't know if this would be like, is x divided by 2? Just forget about x, okay? That'll help you out, all right?
All right.
All right. And, all right, I'll leave this right here. All right, did you guys get it? How about this? I'm gonna have a volunteer come up to the board. All right, hey Greg, you sound like you've got it, right?
Yeah.
All right. I want you to show me, in the order that we practice, what you would do. We're going to isolate x, okay?
Okay.
So analyze it, and then let me know what you
You'd
What'd
have
you
to add 2,
right.
and you have to do the same thing on both sides.
Okay.
So if you do that, it cancels out. So you'd have that left on one side, and plus 2, you'd have 6 on this side.
Okay. So what's your next step?
Well, I almost got caught here. That's already, the way I figured it is it looks like it's already being divided.
Right. Some people might think that this is multiplication when you're looking at it because it's sitting in front of, but another way you can look at this, because if you do 1/5 times x, it's the same thing as saying x over 5, right? But that's actually division. So this is a dividing problem, not a multiplication problem. So you were right in thinking that this is division. So what are you going to do to this side then if that's division? You have to do the inverse operations, correct?
Right, so you have to multiply it,
Absolutely.
and you'd multiply it by 5.
Yes.
Okay, and do the same thing
Uh-huh.
on both sides.
So what are you going to get on your left-hand side there?
All those would do that, and so x would equal,
Beautiful job. All right, and how do you know that's the right answer?
I plug it back in.
Okay. And would you get the same answer?
And 1/5 of 30 is 6. Minus 2 would equal 4. So 4 equals 4.
All right, and if we said if we get the same thing on both sides, then you guys found the right answer, okay? And what he did here, if you guys were a little unsure, it's basically, you could think of it as the same way. We had x equaled 30, and so we said 1/5 times 30 is the same thing as thinking of 30 over 5, and that's what 6 is, okay? All right, well, beautiful, thank you. You can sit back down. All right, well, I'm gonna leave one more up here. We're not gonna solve it today, but I'm gonna have you guys go home and solve this on your own, or try to, okay? So we're gonna have something like negative 3x plus 7 minus 2 equals 8, okay? So I want you guys to go home, think this over, and do this. Try and do it without any help from like a calculator or your parents. Try and solve it on your own first, okay? So tonight, you guys have 20 problems. I want you to get at least 16 out of 20 right, okay? I know 20 problems is a lot, but once you get up into college, you won't have as many repetitions because you have to go through things quicker. You're gonna wish you did. Trust me, I've been there, done that. So I want you to get 16 out of 20 right. That way, if you guys have any questions, you can come back tomorrow. And what we're gonna do tomorrow is I'm gonna have you get up in pairs, and I'm gonna put up random problems up on the board, and I'm gonna have the group solve them. If you guys get a certain amount of points right, I have prizes that we'll do for you, okay? So what did we go over today?
We found how to isolate x
Which means what?
by itself.
Yeah, getting x by itself? Absolutely. And what else? What did we do to see if we got the right answer?
You had to check it. You had to plug in x back into the equation.
All right. And can you just plug it in and you know it's good? Or is there anything special you have to do?
It has to be the same on both sides.
It has to be the same on both sides. Why? Because equations are equal, right?
Right.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. I'll see you tomorrow.